Jay, and this is part 2 of how to play jazz guitar with a group. So we left off in part 1 with some of the basic rules of how to play in a group, and rule 3 was how to support, that you should support the soloist. And we're spending a lot of time on that because although we draw from our solo arrangements a lot of our repertoire, if you think about it, when you're in a group, you're spending the majority of your time comping for other soloists. So that's a very crucial segment. And in fact, if you get that right, people will want to play with you, even if maybe your soloing is just average, because you don't have to solo every song anyway. You're really there mostly to support the rhythm section. So when we're playing chords, you don't have to know lots and tons of different voicings. You get creative about and be very dynamic about comping. And we can do that by using different textures. When we're achieving different textures, different sonorities, different sounds, we can start with some of the picked sonorities, some of the Freddie Green techniques, such as this kind of comping, where we would back way off on the volume so that we can strum very hard and get a lot of string. And this is good when you don't have a drummer, in certain situations, and you get a real backbeat going, and it's very strong rhythmically, and you can fill up a lot of space with it. But it does get old, and it is hard on the wrist. We have lots of other kinds of textures now. Some of the other picked textures would be some of the more mellow ones, which can even go in a swing, but turn the volumes on. Just 4 to the floor. Now if you get the pick close to the strings and pick it just right, you can get a real nice attack. And with the occasional upswing, you concentrate mostly on downswings, you can get a swing. Sort of like when a bass player goes, get that grace note in there. Like that. For ballads, you can do things like arpeggiating, rolling arpeggios. And then you have the fingerstyle sonorities too. You have sort of a Jim Hall thing where you have the top note and then the rest of the chord. That works also for good chord solos. It almost sounds like there's another instrument when you do that. If you accent right. Almost sounds like 2 instruments, the accompanist and the soloist, if you do it well. So you have, if you give a little bit of extra thumb there, you can make that swing too. Like that. Another one is where you do some of the lower notes and the upper note and then the middle, and it's very piano sounding. It adds a lot of texture. That's nice. You can do thirds. You don't have to do the whole chord. Depending on how quiet it is, you can do thirds and sixths. Always nice. Sevenths. one of these funks feel, you can do a lot of seconds and tritones. And if you combine them, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. If you're playing very rhythmically and it's very tight, and there sometimes the pick won't do it, you do chords with your fingers. It's really punchy and strong, and you're going pa 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 pa. You might go. Can't do that with a pick as well. At least I can't. So then the question everyone asks is, what if you want to use a pick sometime and fingers sometime? It's very hard for people to graduate totally fingerstyle unless you're a classical guitarist expert, and even then, to be able to do long legato lines, it's just very hard. If you want to play legato, it's much easier with a pick to do long lines quickly and legato. But then, what if you want to do all these other textures that are harder with a pick, where you're jumping all around? So people like, do I use a pick? Do I don't use a pick? Some people like to do the pick and fingers, which has a nice kind of sound because it accents the pick versus the finger sound, which is different. But there's really no reason to agonize over it, because I have solved this problem. First of all, you can take a break. Miles Davis, when he wanted to go, or any of these other trumpet players, especially Miles, from a muted trumpet to a non-muted trumpet, he would pause, take a rest in the song at a good place, and take the mute out. Same with the drummer when he goes from brushes to sticks. It's the same with the pick. If you want to play with a pick, Joe Pass puts it in his mouth. You can put it on your leg if you're on a stool. Pick it up. But I do something different so I can do it quicker. I put the pick behind my finger like this. I invented this technique as far as I know. I've never seen anyone else do it. And you can practice it. You curl your finger back up there with your pick, and you can go back and forth. Picking. Fingers. Pick. Fingers. It's right there. So don't agonize about it too much. There's one last texture I'll tell you about. They say you can't do it in jazz guitar, but they're wrong. And Bill Frisell and Jim Hall prove it, and that's not to use open strings. And especially if there's no horn player and it's just you and the bass player, something from stopping you anymore from playing in those sharp keys like E and A. But even with that, you can play sometimes, especially in ballads, you get a big full sound with open strings. You can use it in jazz. Some other things you can do are do different voicings up and down the neck. And mix it up a lot, and you got yourself enough textures to add emotion to the comping, push the soloist to give them fresh ideas.